Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of this series wherein we are learning to build a to-do app using React and Tailwind CSS. In the last video, we saw how to add our to-dos to the list and how to save them to the local storage and how to retrieve them back from the local storage. So as you can see in my local storage, wherein I go to the applications tab, I have 4 to-dos in the list, and every time I refresh the page, these 4 to-dos are automatically rendered on the page because they are being retrieved from the local storage. So let's move on to the next, which is marking the to-dos as complete. Right now I'm unable to mark my to-dos as complete. So to do that, in app.jsx, wherein we have a to-do list component, we will have to pass it the set to-dos function. The same will be received as props in the set to-dos component. I'll just copy it directly from here. And then again, I'll have to pass the same thing to the items component. And in the items component, I'm going to again receive it as a prop. Alright, our next step is to change the state of the checkbox. We have an on-click function for this checkbox, which will mark the to-do as complete. So we call this function complete to-do, and then let's write this function. So here we are going to invoke the set to-dos function, which gives us a list of all previous to-dos, and we are going to map over the previous to-dos, which gives us a single to-do one at a time. And here we are going to check if the ID of this to-do is equal to the current item's ID, the one that we are iterating. Then we are going to return a new object with all the properties of this to-do as it is, except only changing the isComplete property to be the opposite of the current items is complete, which means that if the current items to-do is not complete and its value is false, then on click it would become true, but if its value is true, then on click this will become false. But if the ID does not match, then we are going to return the original to-do. So coming back to our code list, now if I check any of the property, I am able to mark it as complete, and if I refresh, it persists. If I mark any existing one as incomplete, that persists too. So we are able to change the value of to-dos now. One more, now what have we completed so far? We're able to add to-dos to the list, we're able to save them to the local storage, and we're able to retrieve them back from the local storage. So from the original CRUD operation where we started, we're able to complete C, which is create, and we're able to complete R, which is retrieve. So now what's left is update and delete. Let's start with updating our to-dos. Updating our to-dos means editing any of the existing values here. For example, I may want to change the title here to something else. I should be able to do that. To do that, let's first modify a few of the CSS. We'll do it on the way. But to do that, I want certain icons here whenever I reflect on any of this list, and these icons would be an edit icon and a delete icon. So for icons, we use this library called as Lucide icons, and it has a very good guide of installation. We want it for React using npm. So we copy this command, we go to our terminal, open a new tab, check out our repository, and here we do npm install Lucide React, which will install the repository. Here I can check the same in my package.json. Lucide got installed, and now I want icons from it. The first icon that maybe we can change is the plus icon that we have here. So let's import a plus icon from Lucide. Import plus from Lucide React, and instead of add we would have a plus here. Let's check it back. Yep, we got a plus icon. Here on the Lucide's documentation, a lot of icons are listed. Hovering on them lets you know the name of the icon. It's a very good library. I recommend you all to use the same, but you can use any other icon library of your choice too. Next, we want icons for edit and delete. Here, right in my items. So import edit and delete from Lucide React, and here I want some icons to appear, so I give them a common parent wherein there would be an edit icon and a delete icon. And now the edit icon and delete icon, I want them to only appear when the div is getting hovered. So I'll add classes, I'll make it invisible, but it should only be visible when the parent is hovered. So I give the parent a class called group, and I would say that when group is being hovered, make it visible. Let's see it if it works. Okay, it's working. So the icons are not visible by default, but when I hover on the group, it is visible. So let's style them first. I want them all to be in one line, so flex and items center. Flex to make it all appear in a row. It's appearing in a row except the two icons, so we can give flex here as well. And yeah, it's appearing in a row, and we want it to appear on the very right side, that is here somewhere. So we would ask it to be float right. Let's see if it works. Not working. Let's see what the width of this div is. So we can ask it to have a full width, and instead let's see if mx auto works. Not working. Let's add a common parent to the checkbox and the title. Let's make it flex as well, and then since there are two items now, we can ask this to have space in between. So justify between would add space to both the ends, to both these. And now we want, this is sticking very close to each other. We don't want this. So we ask it to have a space horizontally. So space X and 2. Yeah, it got separated. Similarly, both the icons are sticking close to each other. So we ask them to have a horizontal space. And yeah, there's some space now. The icons are way too bold and way too big. We don't want this. So we give them a width of 4 and a height of 4. And we reduce the stroke. We ask it to have a stroke of 1. So yeah, this is slightly better. We're going to repeat the same classes here. Maybe stroke can continue being 2. Let's check with stroke. Yeah, this looks better. We can change the delete icon to something else. I'm not liking this icon, so there's another icon called as trash 2. I'm going to replace this with trash 2. Yeah, this gives a proper delete icon to me. And I think we can add these classes to the plus icon as well. So class with 4, height 4, and maybe for the plus icon it can have some more width. Yeah, I think let's get rid of the width and only give it a height. This is done. Now, since this is going to be clickable, let's give it a class of cursor pointer. So I give it a class of cursor pointer, which makes it a clickable cursor. Similarly, we'll add the same icon here. Now both my are clickable, icons are clickable. And now I want an editing state for my input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a state here. Let's first import use state from React. And now we're going to have a state called as editing. And set editing would be the function that changes its value, and the initial value here would be false because we're not editing anything initially. But what I want to do is when the edit icon is clicked, so on click of the edit icon, I want to call a function called as handle editing. Now what this handle editing will do is it will change the value of the editing state to true, which means it will let the system know that now we're editing. And when editing becomes true, I should be able to modify the value of the input that I have. So if I click on edit, okay, no change as of now. Let's inspect this. Okay, it's a label. So let's change this label to an input. So we call it an input of type text, and its value would be default value would be item.title, and I want it to be yeah, this changes to an input and I'm able to change the value directly, but I don't want that to be the case. I want this to be the case only when it's being edited. So when it's being edited, I want it to be read only otherwise. So it would be, if it's not being edited, it should be read only. Yeah, now I don't let's refresh. Now I'm unable to change the value. I'm trying to type here, but I'm unable to change the value because it's read only. But if I click on the edit button, and now I can see the cursor, which means now I can type. And let's add an event of on blur, which means that when I click outside, I want the editing to stop. So stop editing. And stop editing would set the value of editing to false. Alright, so I am not able to type anything. I click on editing and now I'm able to type, and when I click outside and go back in, I'm not able to type anything again, which means that now it's become read only. And when I'm editing, I don't want these icons to appear anymore because I'm editing this. So we can change the visibility of this to only appear when I'm not editing it. I'll have this conditional thing wherein I'll check if it's editing, then show these, else show nothing. Let's see if it works. So okay, if it's not editing, I think I should change the position. So if it's editing, show nothing. Yep, so I can see the icons here. Cannot edit it. I click on edit. I don't see the icons anymore because now I can edit, and I click outside, the icons are visible again. This is done. And now our next step is, I am able to change the value here, but the value should update. So that's my next step. So we will add another event here. Let's first increase the readability of this. Let's format these. I'm bringing all of the attributes to a new line so that it doesn't increase the number of words and characters on one line. And now we need another event, which is on change, which means when I change the value of this input, I want to change the title of my to-do forever. So I create this function, handle input change, which would again do something very similar to this, but instead of updating the is complete state, it's updating the title. So we have an event here. We're going to iterate, to use the set to do's function to iterate through all the previous to do's which will give us one to do at a time, and then we are going to compare the IDs of the to dos, and if they match, then we are going to pass the original to dos as is, but we are going to modify the title of this to be event dot target dot value, else we are going to return, if the IDs don't match, we are going to return the to do object as is. So this is what we're going to do. Let us check. I want to edit this and I want to make it meeting with Jason Bell, and then I click outside. The bell persists. And did it save in the local storage? Yes, it did. I change. And then let's try once again. Add CCD. I click outside. It's value updated. There's this issue we're facing wherein our input got hidden. I think it can be solved by giving the parent of the checkbox and the title a flex of 1. Or let us give it a width instead. A width of say 50%. Maybe we give it flex 1 and then we give this as well flex 1, the title. Yeah, it worked. So now we're able to update our to-dos. We are able to update the state of the to-dos as well. And each time I refresh the page or come back on my application, the value is going to remain as is. We can add another state to it, wherein we can check that if the to-dos is unchecked or checked, then we can have a strike over these to-dos. So to do that, this is where we want the strike to be. Okay, so we want a strike through when the to-do item is complete, but that would be conditional. It cannot always be strike through. So to add a conditional class, we'll make this as an object wherein we'll bring the flex class back with a space and a plus icon to add our condition followed by brackets. Here we need to check if the item is complete, then we add a class of line through, else nothing. Let us check. And yes, it worked. All the to-dos that were complete has a line through. The ones that are not complete don't have it. Another thing that we need to do is each time I click on the title, I see this border of input even though it is not editable yet. I want this border to appear only when the input is editable. So to do that, we'll have to add another conditional class, and that would be another plus and conditional class, and we have to check if it's editing, then don't add anything. If it's editing, then don't add any class. But if it's not editing, we want to make the border width 0. so the border goes away. And we check and we click on it, the border is still there. Let's try with border none line as well. So border none, outline none. Yeah, and it went away. I can just disable all of these back again and it's not there anymore. But if I edit it and I click, I can see it back again. So pay the electricity bill. Click outside, gone with my edited value. And let's do one more thing. Let's make it such that each time I click on edit, my input should get into focus immediately. So when I click on the edit button, it's the handle editing that gets called, which sets the editing to true, and then I want it to change the value of the input such a way that my input is in focus. So ref, and I'll call it input ref. Where is this input ref coming from? What is it exactly? So this is going to be defined here, input ref, which is react dot use ref. So basically this is some sort of reference to the input element and its original value would be none. But each time we're referring to input ref dot current, it would give us the value of that particular input. So what we got to do now is instead of doing react dot use ref, let's import use ref and also use effect. So I'll just remove react from here and we'll just do use ref. And I want to have a use effect which would get called every time. So it has a callback function. This is the callback function it would have. And when would this get triggered? It would get triggered every time the value of editing changes. So every time the value of editing changes, we would check if editing is true and we have a current reference of input. So we do input ref dot current and we want to focus on this. So we would say input ref dot current dot focus. And apart from focus, we want the cursor to be at the end of the title, whatever the title is. So we say input ref dot current dot set selection range and here we pass the value as input ref dot current dot value dot length is the beginning, the first, and the end would also be the same. So input ref dot current dot value dot length. Let's try that out. So I click on edit and it focuses on the input and brings my cursor to the end of the input. I click outside, it goes away. That is accomplished too. Now the next thing I want to accomplish is that this is clickable but my cursor doesn't reflect that. So I'm going to give the parent of both the checkbox as well as the title a cursor pointer. Cursor pointer did not change anything. It changed it for the big. So let's instead give cursor pointer to individual elements here. Similarly, I think I can add cursor pointer here and add a space. And now if I go there, I'll add cursor pointer back to the parent as well. And now, yep. And now currently when I click on the title, nothing is happening, but when I click on the checkbox, the state gets updated. I want that when I click on the title, the checkbox should get checked or unchecked as well. So to do that, I am going to remove this on click from here and add it to the parent of these instead. And now when I come to the title and I click it, I am able to change the state of the to-do, whether it's complete or not, by just clicking on it. So I think that is all for this video. In this video, we learned how to mark our input to-dos as complete or not complete, and we also learned how to edit the values of our to-do. Yep, as you can see, I was able to update the value, and each time I refresh my page, all that I updated persists. That's all for this video so far. Now there's just one more thing left for this series, and that is how to delete the to-dos, and we will see that in the next video. Bye bye.